Mr. Chamberlain? Wow, you're like the top dog here, aren't you? You're the president.
Well, sure.
Oh my God, I can't believe I'm sitting in the elevator with the president. I don't know how to say this, but, you know, you're one of my idols.
Really, thank you.
Yeah, wow. Wow, I was just reading the paper the other day, and I saw your name and like everything you've been doing for the environment, the community. I just think everything you're doing here at, you know, BBSG is just great.
Appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah. Brian Johansson. I just graduated college. I mean, I know it's pretty typical. Elevator, you know, everyone just trying to make their big chance with the big boss, you know. You know, you get it all the time, like, I'm going to be the best employee you've ever had. Well, you know, I maybe not be the best, but I am a hard worker. I'm a team player. I listen, and I know when to shut up. So, maybe if there's any positions available, you could talk to some people, let them know my name, Brian Johansson, slip it into a conversation.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Brian Johansson.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
What do you think? What do you think, audience? Right. We got to give Brian some credit. He had some positives, but he was a little rough around the edges, so we want to polish his skills and your skills as well. That's 4 things I want you to think about next time you get in an elevator with somebody and you want to pitch them, or you get them at a cocktail party, or, hey, maybe playing a game of golf with them. You got to ask yourself a couple questions. First of all, what does the market or that company or that person need from anybody? And what are your unique talents or products? And how can those talents benefit the person you're talking to? And are you better than the competition? If you are, you got to let them know about it. Just a few things to keep in mind when you're doing an elevator pitch. And joining me now with more on how to sell yourself, whether you're in the elevator or a job interview or anywhere else, is Peggy Klaus, the author of Brag, The Art of Tooting Your Own Horn Without Blowing It. Great name of a book, Peggy. Thanks for being here.
Oh, it's delightful, Mary.
We watched Brian in there, and I got to tell you, what I liked about what he did is he introduced himself. So many people see the big boss in an elevator, and they shut up. I like the fact that he took initiative.
Yeah, that was wonderful. And on the kind of negative side, if I can say that, is that he went on and on and on. It's a laundry list, and that's really bad bragging. He says, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing that, and people then tend to roll their eyes back in their head and start snoring, right? And then it was very monotone. There wasn't any excitement in his voice. So it didn't really sound like he was excited to be there, which he probably wasn't.
He was probably terrified.
Right.
You know, do I make the move? And he made the move, and he was terrified. So let's help people get over that feeling, because you say that if you're prepared and you know how to do this, when you see the opportunity, you'll be excited, right?
Right. So what you have to do is, as you said, be prepared. And that is creating for yourself what I call a brag-a-log, a short, pithy, conversational, story-like about your accomplishments and everything that, you know, just a few little brag nuggets, what I call them, about yourself.
So how do we go about getting that prepared and putting that on paper so that we can practice them? Like, what kind of things should be in my brag-a-log?
Well, first of all, if you're applying for a job, you want to say, what is the job? Why am I interested? Why should I be the one that gets this job? What's in my experience? What are the skills that I have, the traits that I bring to it?
So it's not just that I was student class president and, you know, had 4 years of French. It's more than the laundry list.
No, if you took, you know, I was student class president, which really taught me about leading people and managing people's, you know, bringing out the best in them and working with people under difficult situations. That would really tells more of a story.
Okay, so it is about thinking about what you want to hear, too.
Right.
Who do you want to talk to at a party? It isn't Donald Trump, and I think so many of us, when we hear brag, we think of Donald Trump, and we don't necessarily want that kind of bragging, and that's not what you're talking about.
No, not at all. I mean, brag is a four-letter word because people think of it as being boring, self-aggrandizing, obnoxious, and there is something called good bragging, which is very gracious and artful and just creates a story about your accomplishments and not a laundry list that rolls out with I've done this and I've done that and I.
Now, you worked with your own nephew, who was a senior and going out there in the job market, like so many of the people here in the audience and watching at home.
Right.
What advice did you give him? Because he wasn't seeing a whole lot of luck at first, right?
No, in fact, he was working for the mayor of Philadelphia, actually, and he went in for this interview after he had finished his job there, and he said, well, I worked for the mayor. And I said to him, Max, what else did you do for the mayor? And he said, oh, it was really interesting, and he told me the story, and I said, that's what you have to tell your future employer. That's what they want to know. Create that story, because they're not psychic. You just can't pass your resume to somebody, Mary, and say, here's my resume, read it. They want to know who you are and what you've done.
When you're sitting there in the interview, that resume has to come to life, right?
Absolutely. It really has to come off the page.
Okay. So in a situation like that, it does help to also practice. So once I get my little brag-a-logs, my stories, I want to make sure they're memorable. It would probably help to do it before I actually do it for real, right?
Yeah,
some sort
and
of,
I would say practice, paraphrase it, say it in lots of different ways, test it out on your friends, your mother, whoever, and say, is this interesting? Is it short? Is it pithy? Does it say what it is I want to say?
Give me your elevator pitch.
Well, you know, it's interesting because someone asked me on the plane yesterday, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a communication, and I didn't even get leadership coach out. And she said, oh, you work with satellites and things. And I said, no, I work with earthlings on their communication and leadership. And so I go into corporations and I deal with everyone from the CEO and the CFO and all those OOs all the way down on all sorts of communication and leadership issues.
And you've had great success, and I'm so grateful that you would come share your advice with the students today. Thank you so much, Peggy.
Oh, it's wonderful.
And you got to read the book. Peggy Krause, author of Brag, The Art of Tooting Your Own Horn, and the best part, without blowing it. Thanks so much. And up next, the hiring managers tell us what they want from you. The inside story is next.